This is for 7th grade on 7.1 on solving or writing inequalities. Be on the lookout for answers to be sent to your email, but I am going to work through the guided practice here, and hopefully this will help re-explain everything that you should have read through in the lesson. So number 1, it wants us to add 7 to both sides. So if I want to add 7 to both sides, negative 5 plus 7 is positive 2, and negative 2 plus 7 is 5. So again, this inequality remains true. A 2 is less than or equal to 5, and we know from the very beginning of this lesson, when you add or subtract from both sides, the inequality remains the same. Number 2, we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. So negative 6 divided by negative 3 is 2. And negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. And remember, when we divide both sides by a negative, we have to switch the inequality. Number 3, 7 is greater than negative 4. Subtract 7 from both sides. 7 minus 7 is 0. Negative 4 minus 7 is negative 11. And number 4, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 2. And when we multiply by a negative, we switch the inequality symbol. So negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. And negative 8 times negative 2 is 16. All right, solve each inequality, graph and check the solution. So we have solved these just like one-step equations. So n minus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 2. We're going to add 5 to both sides. So we have n is greater than or equal to positive 3. Now, since this is greater than or equal to, we're going to have a filled-in circle at 3, and it has to be greater than . And we're going to shade greater than positive 3. Number 6, we are going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we have x is less than 4. So since this just is only less than, we're having an open circle, and any number has to be less than 4, so we're going to the left of 4. Number 7, we're dividing both sides by negative 7, and since we're dividing by negative 7, we switch the inequality symbols. So instead of less than or equal to, we're going to have greater than or equal to. So 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. So greater than or equal to, we are going to have a filled-in circle. And if we want it to be greater than negative 2, we're going towards 0 to the right. And number 8, we're multiplying both sides by 5. Now, since this is positive, we don't switch the inequality symbol. And 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So open circle at negative 5, and it has to be greater, so we're going towards 0. For a scientific experiment, a physicist must make sure that the temperature of a metal at 0 degrees Celsius gets no colder than negative 80 degrees Celsius. The physicist changes the metal's temperature at a steady rate of negative 4 degrees per hour. For how long can the physicist change the temperature? So we're going to have to be writing some inequalities. So let T represent time in hours. Write an inequality. Use the fact that the rate of change in temperature times the number of hours equals the final temperature. So it changes at negative 4 degrees per hour, which is T. And it can't get any colder than negative 80. So this needs to be greater than or equal to negative 80. So now we have to solve the inequality. So I have negative 4t is greater than or equal to negative 80. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. Since I'm dividing by negative 4, I switch the inequality. So t is less than or equal to negative 80 divided by negative 4 is positive 20. So 20 or fewer hours is going to be how long it takes to change the temperature of the metal. And the physicist has to repeat the experiment. If the metal gets cooler than negative 80 degrees Celsius, how many hours would the physicist have to cool the metal for this to happen? So because it takes 20 or fewer hours to change the temperature, he wants it cooler than negative 80, so it's going to have to go more than 20 hours. And the last question is done for you. Suppose you are solving an inequality. Under what circumstances do you reverse the inequality symbol? So when you multiply or divide by a negative. I hope this helps. Be on the lookout. I am going to be doing another video on solving one-step equations or inequalities. Thanks for watching.